Hi multimedia designers! Today I'll do a little tutorial on how to make this mini-me character. As you can see, I have one here that I made last year, and I'm going to show you how to make this from scratch. There is this link you can use right here where you can find it in writing, but for those of you who find it easier, I'll do a tutorial for you to follow. So let me just shut this one. Tutorial time. And when you're opening the program, you can just search for it. If you haven't already placed it somewhere, you can find it. I'll just write Illustrator. Here we go. And open it. Mine was already open, that's why it's so fast. You guys might just have to wait a little while. As you can see, you can explore further if you want some tips and tricks on how to use the program. But for this little tutorial, we'll just need a fresh, clean document to work on. So start by pressing File, choose New, and don't mind all the options. The only thing you have to think about is the size. So pick A4 and make sure that the orientation is portrait. So you should have a document that looks like this. When you're doing this little mini-me, you're basically just building characters from simple shapes. So when we look at your tools over here, the thing you're going to use the most today is your shapes in here on the rectangle tool. Start by picking this one for the body and just drag a little rectangle, something like this. I'll just zoom in a little bit, like this. For my arms and legs, I want to pick this one called Rounded Rectangle Tool, and the way I'm making these appear is by clicking and holding this button. And as you can see here, you have some different shapes to choose from. So I'll just take this one and drag a little leg, like this. When you want to move your shapes, you have to use this one called the selection tool. That's the black arrow. You might as well get used to using these shortcuts right away because it will make your workflow that much faster. So when I'm using this selection tool, I'll press V. And as you can see up here, you can see what the shortcuts are right next to the name. So start by placing this one. And there's a really simple and neat trick to copy these shapes because I want my other leg obviously to look the same. So if you press Alt, you can see this little ghost arrow appearing, and then I can click and move it, and I'm still pressing Alt like this. I might as well just use this one for my arms as well, and again I press Alt and I move it up here. I want a little angle on my arm, and then I just move the cursor down here to the corner and I can tilt it a little bit. I want my other arm to have that same angle. So there's a neat trick here. If I right click on my arm, I can pick transform, and there's this one called reflect. So I'm going to reflect my arm, and I want this vertical reflection. As you can see, there's a little illustration here showing what it's doing. Just remember to press copy instead of OK, because then you'll just be reflecting your one arm, or flipping it actually. So like this. And there's a neat trick. If you want to move this one in the exact position on the other side, just press Shift while you move it, because then you're only able to move it in 45 degrees, and that's a big help. So I'm going to place this here. Now I can see that maybe the body turned out a little too big. I can always just make it a little smaller, and as you can see, when I drag this square, everything it touches I select, and I just use my arrows to move these objects, something like this. Now I have these 5 different shapes and I want to turn them into one. So what I do is that I select everything, and I want to use a tool called Pathfinder. Mine is right here, but I know that you can't see yours. So just press Window in your top bar and choose Pathfinder, and then this one appears. As you can see here, there are some different shape modes, and what I want to do is to unite them. And again, you have little illustrations to help you figure out what's going on. I press Unite, and just like that, I have one shape forming the body. Now I want to fill it with some color. I want some skin tones in here. And what you do is double click your fill color. And let me see if I can find a pale shape to match my skin tone. Something like this. And I also want to add a head to this body. It's a good idea that you don't unite the head and the body, because that will get you in trouble as soon as you start to add clothes to this one. So I'm going to press the ellipse tool, and then I'm going to drag a circle that's going to make my head. When I start to drag, you can see that I'm having a hard time controlling the shape of this. So if I press Shift, it helps me to make a perfect circle, but it's in the wrong place now. So I'm still holding Shift and I'm clicking, and then I can press my space bar, and now I can actually move it. So it's looking a little weird because I'm using 4 fingers now, but it's really a big help when I want to place this. And if I want to scale it even further, I'm just letting go of the space bar. And this might seem like a lot of trouble to you guys, but don't worry, as soon as you get accustomed to using this program, it will just be as easy as breathing. So now I have my body and a head. So you're actually good to go now, just to start filling things in and starting to apply clothes. At this point, it's a good idea to make layers, so you don't have all your elements mixed up. You do that out here in your menu on the right. There's this one called Layers, and as you can see, everything is in the same layer. So what I want to do first is to move the head in a different layer. So I click this one, and when you can see this blue box, it's selected. I press Command X, because then I'm cutting it out. For you guys using a PC, it might be Control X. Then I create a new layer by pressing this one here. And I'm pressing Command or Control F, because now it's placed in front. The cool thing here is that when I'm not working in the body layer, I can lock it. And when it's locked, I'm not able to select it and I can't move it. And this would really be a big help when you start to have more elements. So working in the head layer here, I can actually name it. If I click it, I can name this one head. And I can name this one body. I can start to add some elements. For instance, I can add an eye. I'm just going back to the default setting here with white fill and black stroke. And like that. I'm going to, oh, that was a mistake. Remember, Control C or Command C or Z, you can always go back. Like this. I'm going to make the inner part of the eye just by dragging a new circle. Make it as detailed as you like. And if you want to save yourself a lot of grief and trouble, just make one eye and then select it and move it, instead of trying to make two separate eyes that looks exactly the same. If I want to make a little mouth here, I know I'm going a little fast now, but you can just take it in your own pace and try to use some of the other tutorials and make this your own. As you can see, a circle is made out of 4 anchor points, and if I just delete one of them, I can use this tool here. Then I get a little happy mouth instead. So this was basically the beginning to get you started. Now you just need to add some more elements. A tool you need to get familiar with is actually the pen tool here, because you can make freehand sketches with them. But it's a little hard to control. But if I want to apply a little t-shirt here with puffy sleeves, I can do it using this tool. And again, just try to keep it simple and make it as easy for yourself as possible. And only do half. Then you can always flip it and do the other half. Right click, transform, reflect, copy. And then place it. Just like before, you can select both of the shapes and you can unite them. And it looks like something like this. Try to put some details on this one so it looks like you, and you can make them really cool, but it takes some time and you need to put some effort in it to make it really good. But I'm looking forward to seeing your results. This was it from me.